Watch to the end of this video to get a pro tip on how to clean your pot. It'll make your life so much easier. So with that said, let's get into the video. Today's recipe calls for popcorn. Just because we're in the microwave doesn't mean we're going to use the microwave style popcorn. We're going to make our own. It's really easy actually. So today we're going to make sea salt caramel popcorn. It's going to be fun. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is add 1 tablespoon of oil to our pan. You want to make sure your pan is ripping hot, and you want to make sure your pot has enough room for the popcorn kernels to pop and move freely around. We'll go ahead and throw our lid back on to keep the heat in. Now that our oil's hot, we're going to add 3 or 4 kernels into our oil and shake them around so everything gets coated, just to test to see how hot our oil is. Now that we see that our popcorn has started to pop, we're going to go ahead and add 90 grams or a heaping 1/3 cup of popcorn. Throw our lid back on to keep the heat in and shake our pan around to make sure all of our popcorn kernels get coated with oil. Then halfway through, you can turn your heat down a little bit and give it a shake to make sure everything pops. Now all of our popcorn is done. We'll throw that in a separate bowl and set it aside for now. You want to wait about 3 to 5 seconds after you hear the last pop, and all of your kernels should be popped at that point. So go ahead and shake it and see if you can pull any unpopped kernels out. Next, in a saucepan, we will add 210 grams or 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar to our pan. Then we will add 100 milliliters or 1/3 cup plus 2 tablespoons of tap water. My pan started to bubble. My pot was hot. You always want to make sure to start with a cold pot. But next you're going to move your water around and cover all your sugar with your water. You do not want to stir it with a spatula or a spoon at this point. And this is what our caramel is starting to look like. It's a light brown color. If you haven't already, go ahead and sift through your popcorn and pull out any popcorn kernels that haven't popped or any burnt pieces that you see. There are a few ways to make caramel. One way is the wet method, which we did here, is water and sugar. Or there's the dry method, where you add sugar to the pan and nothing else. And the sugar will start to caramelize itself over the heat and release a little bit of the water that it does contain. Man, science, right? But either way, it doesn't matter which way you make it. This stuff is really hot. It's like liquid hot magma. So be really careful. If you get this stuff on you, it could potentially give you 3rd-degree burns, and nobody wants that. That'll ruin anybody's day. Just have patience with this. This will take some time. You don't want to rush this process. If you're going to rush this process, you will potentially burn your caramel and have to start all over again. And who really wants to do that? Her caramel is starting to turn that amber color, and that's what we're going for. So at the ready, you should have 1 tablespoon of room temperature unsalted butter and 1 teaspoon of salt of the sea. So once it starts to turn this amber color, you're really close to being done. Now your caramel will start to get really fragrant and smell really good. So go ahead and throw your salt in and give that a stir, and throw your pad of butter in. You want to mix it really well and make sure that your butter is emulsified with your caramel until you have a smooth texture. If we just threw our butter in and did not mix it, then we'd have a separation of caramel and fat, but that's not what we're going for. So keep mixing until everything's smooth. Keep it on the heat so your sugar doesn't harden. You can lift it up like this to keep it off the heat so it doesn't burn, but you want to be close to your heat source. What I should have done was added the butter and then added the salt after, because the salt did stick to the bottom of the pan a little bit, but it's not a big deal. So keep stirring until everything's emulsified and looks nice and smooth. The butter adds flavor by fat, and it gives our caramel a nice little sheen. So this is what it should look like. Now pour it over your popcorn. Just a reminder, this is really hot. You can see the steam coming off of it. So you want to make sure to get everything out of the pot and move as quickly as possible. So just keep stirring it around, scraping the bottom because your caramel is heavier than the popcorn and settles on the bottom of the bowl. So scoop from the bottom. Piece of popcorn did fly up and burn me, so be aware of that when you're stirring your popcorn together. So just keep stirring until everything looks well coated with caramel. Eventually, the popcorn will start to stick together because your caramel will start to harden. Now that all of our popcorn is well coated, you can throw it on a sheet tray that's lined with parchment paper or wax paper. It'll make the process easier to clean later if you did use wax paper or parchment paper. And then you're just going to use your spatula to flatten out your popcorn, like so. Flattening your popcorn will help speed up the cooling process, which means we can eat it a lot faster. This is what it should look like after you've flattened it. After your popcorn has time to cool, you're going to grab the clumps and start breaking it up so you have more pieces to eat. Here's our caramel popcorn. I ended up doing 2 batches of caramel. The first time it didn't look like there was enough coating on the popcorn, so I made another batch of caramel. So it does work if that's what you want to do. But with that, doing a second coat, you get these big clumps, which is totally fine. It's a better bite than having just a single piece of popcorn with a little bit of caramel on there. When making your caramel popcorn, be extra careful because that sugar water is basically like hot lava. I did burn myself a little bit, you can't really tell, but I only cried for like an hour, so it's not that big of a deal. Our popcorn came out looking good. There's a nice shine on our popcorn. It's kind of hard to tell with the camera, but there's a nice little sheen because of the butter. So overall, it looks really good. I'm excited to try it. Alright, let's give our popcorn a try, but first, safety. No reason to lose an eye. Let's see if I can do this. Nope. Definitely not. I did it. It's nice and crunchy, sweet, and salty at the same time. What your body naturally craves is that sweet and saltiness. So this is a perfect combination. This is such a great snack. It's not gonna last long because I'm just gonna destroy this bag. I'm sure you will too. Before we wrap this video up, I wanna show you a quick trick on how to clean your caramel pot, because once that caramel sets, you don't wanna have to bust out the hammer and a chisel just to get that off. With this easy trick, it'll save you so much time so you can get back to eating your popcorn. But with that said, I'll show you real quick. So just pretend that there's caramel still stuck in this pot that's hardened. What you're gonna do is fill it with about a cup or 2 cups of water and throw it back on the burner on the lowest heat possible. And you're gonna throw your lid back on top, and this will help create steam, which will dissolve the sugars back into the water. So you're basically gonna turn it into sugar water, and we're not gonna really have to scrub it. But when you go to scrub your pan or clean your pan, just be aware that your pan is gonna be hot, of course. So be careful with that. And tell your friends about this video, because this is an awesome pro trick. I use it all the time. It works perfectly every single time. But hopefully that helped. Alright, that's it for this video. It's really not too hard. You just gotta have some patience because it takes time to make your caramel and to wait for those popcorn kernels to pop. But it's so worth it. This takes me back to my childhood. When around Christmas time, we'd get those 10 buckets of popcorn with the 3 different kinds. Those were the days. But in the comment section, put number 1 if you say caramel and put number 2 if you say caramel. It's a debate. I say caramel, obviously, but let's see what everybody has to say. I don't know if it's a region kind of thing, but yeah. But with that said, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and also find me on Instagram at TaylorMakes92. I gotta call the dentist now. I've eaten so much of this stuff, but we'll see you on the next one. See if I can do this. Nope. 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 I did it!